All right, guys, what's going on, everybody? Paul Singh, market speculator with bullsonwallstreet.com. Saturday morning, weekly swing trading report. Let's go over what happened last week. We'll look at the indexes really quick. We'll take a look at the leading stocks in those indexes, see if any of those are good plays for the coming week. And we'll review a few of the trades we took over at Bulls on Wall Street. So let's start with SPY here. First thing we do, what's the trend here? Fantastic uptrend. It was a little dicey for a while here. And, basically since the pandemic lows, every single one of these scary pullbacks has been a fantastic buying opportunity. Then we start to float up on that wall of worry here, and then we continue higher before the next dip. And that's the spot we're in right now. SPY is very strong. Now, if we look at the Qs were even more dicey. We saw what looked like rotation out of tech and into some of those other areas like retail, financials, airlines, casinos, all these pandemic opening up of the economy related things. Those have died down a little bit. They haven't broken down, which is good. And we're seeing more rotation back into tech, and tech is going gangbusters here. If we look at the Qs, which is not the perfect measure for tech, but it gives us a good idea. It's very heavily tech. And you can see the Qs after this deep pullback, rotation back into technology. And we could see that just quickly looking at some of the big tech stocks we track here. If we look at the improvement in all of these patterns, if we look at Twitter, if we look at Apple, Amazon, Google, and so on, they're looking fantastic. So Qs look fantastic. SPY looks great. IWM, the Russell 2000, which is more small caps and smaller stocks, this is where there's a little bit of concern because they have been leading through all this. And then when we saw rotation out of tech, the Russell was holding up pretty good. But right now, it is showing a little weakness. Now, it has not broken down. It's not like this thing is just completely breaking down. We have to worry about it. But it's something to pay attention to that maybe not quite as strong now, and we might be seeing another one of these shifts. Now, back in the day, when we'd get a shift like this, we'd expect this shift to last. But as we've seen since the pandemic lows, these things seem to keep going back and forth every 2 or 3 weeks. So we'll see how that plays out here. So those are 3 indexes. Let's go ahead and take a look at maybe the top 10 leaders in SPY and the Qs. So let's go ahead and start with the NASDAQ 100. We have this filtered for the best performers. We'll go about 10 deep here and take a look. Number 1, ALGN. And one of the things I like to do also is look at what industries are leading here. And you get a really good idea of what is in play. We're seeing medical devices, electronics, internet content, retail, leisure. So start with medical devices, ALGN. This is a good way to formulate a quick watch list. Of course, we go much deeper and look at a plethora of stocks. But if you want to do something really quick to get some good ideas, this is a good way to do it. So let's see the top leaders here from last week. We can see Algen made a big push here. A lot of stocks are doing this, remounting their 50-day moving averages that had been weak. Maybe a little extended. I would love to see a little consolidation or a pullback. And then maybe you could take something like ALGN. I would definitely be watching this one. Now, Apple, when we talk about trades, Apple is one we're going to talk about, so let's skip that right now. PayPal is a stock that we are in over at Bulls on Wall Street. I'll go over this one right now. So this is a fantastic stock to be watching here. Now, the nice thing about PayPal is it hits a bunch of different areas. It hits financials as credit services. It hits crypto since they're involved a little in that. And then it also hits technology. So you get kind of the best of 3 different areas with PayPal. Same setup. It had been a fantastic trend play with a deep pullback. Now has remounted the 50-day moving average. Looks really good. And again, over at Bulls on Wall Street, we are in this one, and we like this one a lot. Google, fantastic. You're seeing a theme here. It's the big guys that are really leading this week, which hasn't been the case for a while. But here we have Google breaking out of this range. We had loved this thing because this was one of the few big techs that had a great earnings reaction last quarter. Next earnings, 4/27, so this month. And going into that, looks like we're going to get a little push. Google has been fantastic. Nothing to really do with this right now. Even though it's a great stock, we should be watching it. no real setups right now. It's just extended, and you don't want to be getting in at that point. Amazon, we were talking about this as a remount of the 50-day moving average. Now it is testing a significant range here, and we'll see how it handles that range. What I would like to see in terms of a potential entry would be a little consolidation here and then a break of that range, and maybe we could get into that. Let's look at Ross. Retail is very strong. We are watching retail very closely. I do not believe we have any retail positions now. I took profits in one or two last week, but definitely on watch. So I would really, if there was anything I'd pay attention to right now in the market, if you're looking for trades, retail and technology. But Ross here has broke the pre-pandemic high, which I believe was an all-time high, and we're back at all-time highs again. So Ross, very strong. Is this the optimal entry here? Maybe not, but definitely one to watch. Okta in software. Okta was very beaten down on this tech pullback. And a lot of these guys are still have not completely recovered the way big tech has and some of the other areas like semiconductors have. But a lot of these guys are pushing up against their 50-day moving averages or barely breaking them. If they do that, they are back on trend. So watch these software stocks very closely. That's another area, actually. So I talked about retail, big tech, watch software as well. mRNA, of course, everyone knows this is one of the vaccine companies. Watch for the remount of the 50-day moving average. Peloton here, again, we had actually taken a loss in this one. I really like this stock. Testing the 50-day moving average, now about to remount the 50 again, and I would not hesitate to get back in. All right, so that one more here. Intel, also semiconductors have been strong. Now this one is pushing up right into resistance, so I'd wait on this, but there are other semiconductor stocks that I definitely would be watching. All right, so that is the NASDAQ. Now let's look at SPY here. S&P 500, Twitter. We are actually in this one as well, and it's very close. Oh, whoops, there we go. Twitter, we are in this as well, and we're actually very close to our initial profit target, which was right around 72 or 73. I'm forgetting now, right under this range. But Twitter has been fantastic. It does have earnings coming up at the end of the month. Had a fantastic earnings last time. Here was the last earnings breakout, and held up really well while all of tech was pulling back. I think even though I'm looking to take profits, I think it could be setting up for another entry. NCLH, leisure stocks, have been doing very well. Slowed down a little bit with the rotation into tech, but I still think this year we should be watching airlines, leisure, shipping, retail, casinos, anything related to travel to open up. We should definitely be watching these towards the end of the year. So CCL has a little bit of a better pattern, even though we're only doing the top. Oh, that's going to come on our list, so we'll go to that in a second. IPGP, semiconductors, have been very strong. Love the setup here. Broke the 50-day moving average. Look at that volume. Maybe a little extended, but definitely one to watch here. TPR, retail. And this is a very common pattern we're seeing in retail now, where they pulled back, held support, broke the 9, and now are starting to make a push. And I don't think it's too extended right now, and I would potentially play a breakout over the highs. PVH, another retail here, same pattern. CCL, this one I like a little bit better than NCLH, has shown a little more relative strength recently. And setting up for a decent entry. We already talked about ALGN. GPS, another one of these specialty retail apparel stores, the type of stuff you see in malls are all putting in this pattern here, and looks very strong. I came close last week to entering one of these, but decided to hold off and maybe enter next week. Apple, we'll talk about in a second. LB, again, apparel stores. You're seeing a theme. What is leading right now? Retail, technology, and then maybe some travel and leisure areas. Okay, we'll go over one more Watt. This one actually has not been on my radar. Diagnostics and research. Strong chart here, a little extended. Probably wait for a pullback or some consolidation. Okay, that's a SPY. We looked at the Qs. Actually, let's go ahead and really quickly, let's pick one or two from some of the small cap names here. Core, this is an IPO. With these IPOs, I would love to potentially play an IPO high breakout. That's the only thing I would really do. Software for another software stock that IPO'd back in 2020. and watch for the IPO high break. Snapchat is on our radar. Square is on our radar. Actually, when I took PayPal, I was deciding between PayPal and Square. We are in Roku. This is one of the, I talked about software, and this also is related to media, of course, but these deep pullbacks, and we played a pre-remount of the 9 EM or 50-day moving average here. Okay, let's go over a few of our trades from last week. We took profits in Apple. We actually took this much like, so look at Apple, and you can kind of see the future of what we're seeing in Roku. We got into Apple down here, playing for the rebound of the 50-day moving average. And when it popped on Friday, it hit our profit target. We got out. Profit target was this open gap right here. I still love Apple. If it consolidates and breaks, I wouldn't hesitate to take it again, even though earnings are coming up. But that's the plan with Roku. And a lot of these software stocks or media stocks or tech-related stocks that have not remounted yet, I think these pre-remounts are decent plays here. Okay, so that was Apple. We took profits in Starbucks earlier in the week. This was one of our restaurant plays for leisure. And, we played it down here on the test of support. And then obviously hit our profit target as a continuation pattern. We took profits in Pinterest as well. This was another one of those pre-continuation pattern breaks. And we took profits there as well. So took profits in Pinterest, Starbucks, Apple. We did have one small loss in Tilray. I've been expecting a breakout in pot stocks, and it's still just been consolidating. So we pulled out of this. If it does remount the 50-day moving average, I would get back in. They're getting more and more good news. Another state in the South legalized marijuana, and they think it's going to open the door to the South now, which has been very closed off related to that. So I do think at some point here, we're going to see another continuation run in pot stocks. Obviously, it's not happening now, but we will keep it on our radar. All right, guys. So this week, we have the free weekly report for you guys. Next week will be Coffee with Paul. So I'm going to do those twice a month. And then, of course, if you want more, sign up for the part-time swing trading report at bullsonwallstreet.com.